Hi, I'm Manny, and here's another yapping art video where I'm continuing to do the grayscale shading for this drawing and still experimenting with other stuff off screen to try and find a method of coloring that is both not too difficult to do, but also looks good because as much as I love scribbly, rough, scratchy texture in my drawings, it is kind of a pain if I were to have to like scribble color all over the picture. Or maybe I just haven't found the right way, I don't know. But so far I don't have to worry about that because I'm just doing the shading for this, which was it was a bit of a challenge because I usually record these videos in like 2 or 3 different drawing sessions. This one I just drew for 50 minutes, which I'm pretty sure most artists listen to that and just laugh. But for me, it's kind of difficult. Like, I don't have the mental endurance to draw for more than like maybe like half an hour, 25 minutes. So this was kind of a challenging, not so much in the sense of it's hard to draw, more in the sense of it's hard to keep my mind focused on drawing without, stopping the recording, getting up and doing exercise or doing whatever. Thinking about it, I wonder if I've gotten to a point with my art where I should just move on from doing the grayscale shading and just once I have the base sketch, I just jump directly into coloring because the grayscale shading was a great first step. If I remember correctly, I started doing the grayscale shading pencil thing because it was a lot easier to wrap my head around lighting and texturing and all that stuff if it was just like black and white, like gray tones. But maybe now I can actually start just as soon as the drawing looks decent, I can just be like, okay, going for color and then do the same thing I do, which is to use layers as a way of experimenting and putting on layers of color on top of each other to see what looks good and what doesn't, and just working with that until I've got the full picture. The only problem with that is the reference I use isn't usually a one to one, at least in terms of like lighting and color. So it's going to be hard to figure out what color is ideal for what piece of the picture because the picture I'm using as reference isn't telling me exactly how to match the colors I want. And that in itself creates a problem where if I want to record the process, then a lot more of the process than is currently in these videos will be just me like making mistakes and figuring out what color works and what color doesn't because I when I record these, I have to keep in mind that it has to be at least visually interesting what I'm doing in some way. But I don't know if it will be like very good to watch, watching me fumble with colors for a while. But I guess there is something to be said about the process of experimenting and watching someone experiment and learning from their mistakes, so there might be some value in that. So I think for the next draw, I don't know, because like the grayscale shading's already almost done. Maybe it's kind of a sunk cost fallacy where I'm almost like I'm doing the grayscale shading for this, it would feel like a waste to just in the next recording jump into color and abandon the grayscale shading altogether. I don't know, like maybe, maybe not, but at least since barely anyone, basically no one is watching these videos, I think I could just make a move like that where I just jump into coloring and not really, have like a built up audience be like, oh, but we're used to this. So I've still got free reign to pretty much do what I want with these. So I think maybe in the next video, I'll use the grayscale shading as a base for some of the coloring and then just jump directly into applying color and experimenting with all the layers. Another thing I could do that I actually kind of pre-prepared for a long time ago is I used to want to do a video series where I basically took images from Pinterest, which I know AI wasn't a thing back then, um, and drew them in order to build up my visual library, like my ability to like just come up with stuff on the spot. And I even made a little intro and a funny little jingle for it, and I'm wondering if I could like use it again because I still have it somewhere. It's just a funny, stupid intro for it, and maybe I could start implementing me doing color by using that and just having these little practice sessions, and I could just leave this drawing on the back burner until I'm like ready to actually apply color. Because once again, like I'm not really enthralled to an audience here. Like I haven't built up any viewership, so I could just do it and it wouldn't be a problem. So I actually maybe I ought to look for that funny little jingle and just make a like a quick study video off a Pinterest image or something. Although with Pinterest it's kind of a problem because Pinterest is being polluted by tons and tons of like AI stuff. I mean, there's still a ton of really good stuff on there. It's just there's also a lot of other stuff that isn't as valuable or it's just garbage that's like, milking for likes and interactions, I guess. I don't even know why post AI slop on Pinterest. Like what kind of gratification does it give? Whatever, doesn't matter. Anyway, for the next video, I'm definitely going to give that a try, where I'm going to take a Pinterest image, do a pure color study without any grayscale shading, just scribble, sketch, whatever it is, and then color it directly. Which I remember that whole thing started with me finding Super Annie's artists, Carl Kapinski, who's like my art hero, and Kim Jong-gi, and them being in interviews and talking about building up your visual library so you could just pull from it and create stuff. And I was super gung-ho and excited about it that I made that intro and I was going to make that series. But then I figured out I have aphantasia and I said, well, I'll never have a visual library, but it's not quite that black and white. So I think there is still value in me doing all of these kind of color studies. So I'm still gonna give it a shot, see if it leads to anything good. But anyway, the video's about to end. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.